What's up guys, CJ here and welcome back to another all-new HNN News Flash. Off camera today, but the story of the day is of course Suicide Squad reviews. They are now in, and with a lot riding on this movie in the months since the lukewarm at best reception to Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, today is potentially a big day for the DC Extended Universe. And so, drumroll please, the embargo has lifted, the curtain is drawn back, and now we have a glimpse into what the people that get paid to think about movies thought about this movie. And the verdict is not so great. Not so great. Currently, with most of the big-name reviewers on the board and 56 reviews total in, the film sits at a shaky 34% on the Rotten Tomatoes meter, which could mean either a lot or a little depending on how much stock you put into the reviews aggregating website. But perhaps more telling is the fact that the average score equates out to a 5.4 out of 10, or roughly half a point higher than BVS, which checked in with a 4.9 out of 10 and a 27% RT score. So what happened? What is this movie's major malfunction according to reviewers? Well, in my opinion, we have to start at RT's critics' consensus, and this is just a synthesis and a summary of what seems to be the common thread in all reviews so far. And that upshot highlights the talented cast and humor as positives, but cites a muddled plot, lack of character depth, and ultimately choppy pacing as the film's major detractions. For a more in-depth look though, let's check out some of the industry's biggest critics and what they had to say about the film. Variety's review specifically calls out the muddled plot, highlighting characters' ulterior motives as too clunky, unnecessary, and often uneven, suggesting the film's PG-13 rating and having to conform to Snyder's vision for this cinematic universe to some degree might have been the ultimate disruption to director David Ayer's effort. Rolling Stone's Peter Travers was even harsher, giving the film 1 out of 4 stars, citing once again strange choices in character motivation, but ultimately calling it out for failing to really cut deep, and, I kid you not, referred to the film as Ayer going limp dick. That just seems oddly personal. Meanwhile, legendary Chicago Sun-Times critic Richard Roeper's review can be summed up in his first sentence, and I quote, "What a waste of a perfectly twisted Suicide Squad." But not all of the response was negative, and in fact, some people that were negative on Batman v Superman seemed to genuinely like this film. Hitfix's Drew McWeeny highlights the talented cast for a brilliant ensemble performance, but recognizes El Diablo himself, Jay Hernandez, as the breakout star, ultimately giving the film a B+, and seems to think that it's just what DC needed. Entertainment Weekly gave it a B-, saying that it was good, but not as good as it could have been with the villain a little lackluster, while USA Today potentially gave it the most positive review out of all at 3.5 stars out of 4, calling it a proudly raised middle finger to the traditional superhero film establishment. Meanwhile, on the YouTube reviewer, hero film establishment, like it was just okay, and so in line with his best movie ever, worst movie ever reviewing format, gave it a worst movie ever. But Jeremy Jahns was incredibly pleased with the film, seeing it as striking the perfect balance in comedy and drama that the DCEU needed. You know, it definitely seems to be a mixed bag from the critics this time, unlike as was the case with Batman v Superman. I really think the score might rise as more reviews emerge this weekend. It seems like even the most complimentary critics can agree that the story was a little messy and generally don't have nice things to say about the Enchantress, though most of their problem seems to be with the way the movie and the script handles her in general versus the way that Cara Delevingne portrayed her. Ultimately, the place where critics seem to differ the most is on the point of character motivation. Some reviewers like USA Today seem to really love the extra character development and interest in these villains' humanity, while others seem to find it a little out of place in a movie about the worst of the worst for these characters to be actually portrayed as more misunderstood than anything else. But it seemed like everyone could agree that the cast was terrific, with Viola Davis, Margot Robbie, Will Smith, Jai Courtney, and Jay Hernandez as the standouts, but a brilliant ensemble performance all around. And you know, I can't really comment with my thoughts on the movie either, as I won't see it until Thursday night, but I'm still very, very excited, and I'm going into it with an open mind, regardless of what the critics say. Look for a review to be up on Thursday, and an extended, longer spoiler cast from Super Friends this week on Friday, kind of a day late, just so we can all see it on Thursday and talk about it later that night. But that'll do it for me here. Don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw, subscribe for more great content every single day, and consider supporting us on Patreon for access to all sorts of exclusive goodies, like access to every episode of Season 5 of Comic Book Versus 11 days early and exclusive audio commentaries as well. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you next time.